Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, we're going to cover part 2 of a series of going through Snowsight, which is Snowflake's web UI, basically the user interface that you use every day when working with data and pipelines within Snowflake. And if you missed part 1, which is all about projects, I'll put a link up at the top of the screen now. In this video, though, we're going to dive into some of the other features, part of the Snowsight web UI, because it's been changing rapidly as Snowflake continues to evolve, adding new services and capabilities. So I hope you find this video useful. So here we are back into Snowsight. And as I mentioned in the intro, we've previously covered all of these different aspects within the project space. So if you missed that, go back and check out the first episode on this. This time around, we're just going to move into the ingestion. We're going to dive straight into here now. Obviously, when you come into use Snowflake, especially for beginners, the first thing they want to do is add some data in there and make some use of it. And that was always really tricky to work out for people new to Snowflake. It never used to come with this page with all these different tabs on here and little wizards to help you get going. But now you've got it. A little bit around adding data on Snowflake. So you can see all of our options here. You can load data into the table. And that means you can actually pick files, as we'll see in a second, from our local machine and actually load those directly into Snowflake and upload those into the cloud effectively. We can load files into a stage. So if I click on here, then in Snowflake, you have a concept of stage. Now, an external stage is an external cloud storage location. Typically, that's Amazon S3, Azure Blob Storage from Microsoft, and GCS Google Cloud Storage. So one of each from the free cloud storage providers. You can basically put your files in there, create a pointer from Snowflake to look at that stage. We've also got a couple of wizards in here, such as learn how to get data from a URL, which is a link effectively taking you to another page. And it takes you to the Snowflake documentation, as well as learning about Snowpipe streaming, which is a way of streaming data into Snowflake. So we're going to load data into a table. When you click Browse, and click Recents, I'd happen to have a CSV in here, which is related to my latest book, handily enough, the Snowpro Core Study Guide, the 2nd edition, which just came out. So if you're looking to prepare for your Snowflake Snowpro Core exam, that's the place to start, fully updated for the latest version of the new exam, which actually goes live in about a week or so's time. This was a target list of keywords from Amazon that I just happened to have. Now I can pick an existing database. This is a fresh trial, so I've only got the databases that Snowflake comes with out of the box. If I just create a new database as well as part of loading this in, it will actually create the database for me as part of this wizard. I don't actually need to come out of here and create a database separately. So now I've created a database and test.public, so every database has a public schema with it. I haven't needed to create that. And I can select or create a new table. Well, as this is a new database, there's nothing in here yet, so I need to create a new table. If I click Create New Table, it will use the structure of the CSV file. So then I'm going to create a new table in here. I'm going to call it Sponsored Products. And I'm going to click Next. Now it will read and validate that CSV file, and it'll move on to the next page because this will hit the structure of the file. It knows it's a CSV. Notice that here we've got some options. If I just open this up, first line contains headers, and because I've got spaces in some of the header names and brackets, it's giving me a bit of an error here saying I've got invalid characters in here, so I can't actually use these for the column names of the table. I can actually just drop this 11 errors box down and click Auto Fix column names, and it adds some underscores if I've just got a space. If I've got other characters like this, it just puts it in double quotes. Not a great name for a table column name, but let's just leave it like that for now for the purposes of this demo. It's not going to make any difference. I can then click load. That will go away, load the CSV file in and create that new table as well. If I now click view table details, well, there's my data. That's loaded directly from the CSV file into the table within the test database, and there's my sponsored products table name that's created for me as well. So that's now there ready to query. So that's the ingestion and add data. If I quickly go back to here, notice that we've got some pre-built connectors as well, MySQL, Postgres. So if we go back to ingestion and we go to copy history, this keeps a history of all of the data that's been loaded into Snowflake. And now you might wonder why this says no copies found when we've just loaded some data in here. Well, if you actually go and search in the Snowflake documentation, you will find that the copy history page itself that you're looking at here uses the account usage schema, which has a latency of up to 2 hours. So immediately you're not going to see those changes reflected in here. So when you're using account usage, there is a latency associated with it when you compare that to the information schema, which is always up to date. So you can go here to view the copy history. There's also a command you can run just here, so you can select everything in the last hour or whatever date range that you look at. So just a little bit of extra information about copy history there. If we look at migrations, this is where you want to convert code from a legacy database into Snowflake. So here we've got Oracle, Teradata, SQL Server, Azure Synapse, and Redshift are all supported here. So you can use a product called Snow Convert. You can download it from here, depending on what operating system that you're using. And so that will help accelerate the process of taking existing code and processes and moving them on to Snowflake and making it compatible with the Snowflake system. You've also got training in here around Snow Convert itself. And this talks you through how you would prepare and assess and look at the legacy code that you've got to bring across the Snowflake and make certain decisions around that. So that's all the ingestion stuff. If we move on to transformation, we've got dbt projects, which is quite new. Now, you may have heard about dbt before, and I've got some videos on the channel about that, which is predominantly aimed at dbt Cloud, which is the SaaS managed version of dbt. There's also dbt Core. So at the heart of dbt Cloud, it uses an open source product called dbt Core. That's the engine that drives transformations and orchestrations between your data items and data products. So now you can actually create your dbt-centric workflows within Snowflake and use a dbt Core engine, which is being integrated into the Snowflake product. And you will see in this page any dbt jobs and runs that you do. And so basically, if you've got dbt pipelines, the history of those will show up here. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this here. It's out of scope for this particular video, but this is where you will find any previous runs related to dbt. If we go into dynamic tables now, so here you can look at any dynamic tables that you've got set up. And so because this is a fresh trial environment, we don't have any objects set up. So probably the best way just to show you what appears in here is to create a dynamic table and briefly explain what it is. So if we add a new SQL file, in here, we're going to create a database called customer. Two schemas, one called STG for staging and one called TGG for target. We're going to create or replace the table staging.customer. And we're just going to select some data from the sample databases that Snowflake provides you with out the box. So in here now, in this staging customer table that we've just created, we've got 150,000 records in here. Dynamic table then. So we can create a dynamic table. It's a piece of SQL code effectively that's compiled on a certain frequency. In this case, we're specifying a lag of 1 minute. And you can then also optionally specify a warehouse associated with that. That's going to provide the compute to support the refresh of this table. You then specify a SQL query. And once you've created that, that will appear as if it's a table materialized in the database. And you can work with that like anything else. So we've called this TGG.customer, target.customer. If we select from that table, we've got 150,000 records here because it's just executing this particular statement on a 1 minute refresh behind the scenes. If this staging table then gets updated, after the next minute, it will be automatically refreshed in the background using the compute warehouse, and we will be able to see the changes in here. So if I now go back to transformations and dynamic tables, hit refresh up here, we can then see our dynamic table customer in here, the fact that it's active, refresh status, the target lag that we've created with it, and so on. You can then go in here and do a bunch of different steps, such as refreshing it manually, suspending it, editing a dynamic table. I'm just going to drop it because I don't like running every minute and consuming credits, but that is where you can see a list of dynamic tables in one place that you have access to and also manage them in tasks then. So this is where you can create a task which can run a SQL statement within Snowflake. You can also chain tasks together to run in sequence. So for example, after one task finishes, you can then run another task immediately after. And so in this environment, I've created a task just so we can see what it looks like. So you'll get the list of the tasks in here, the schedule that they're running on, if it's run before, what the status of the run was, if it was successful or errored, what database and schema it lives in. And then again, we've got some options here to resume tasks and edit tasks and so on. But again, in your transformations pane, this is where you'll get the details of all of the tasks, any DBT runs that you've done, and any dynamic tables. You'll be able to see everything across all of the databases that you have access to. And so it will give you a really good idea, especially if you're new to a Snowflake environment. It's a great place to go in and just get a feel for what's in your environment and what you're dealing with. So that concludes our short video on transformations in the Snowsight Web UI. I hope you found that useful. If you did and you want to see any more details on any of the capabilities that we touched on, then please drop a message in the comments below and I'll add that to the list of new videos that we're going to produce over the next couple of weeks. For now though, keep watching, keep subscribing. New videos coming very soon.